Shalom Uvracha. We will begin with Daf Mem Daled Amud Aleph. So we learned in the Mishnah yesterday, V'chol davar, v'chol sheyesh lo matirin, anything that has matirin, a permitter, ben ladam ben mizbeach, whether it permits it for a person to eat it or mizbeach, the altar to consume it, but to be burnt on the altar. Meaning, whether it has something that permits it for a man to eat it, or has something that will permit it, a matir, to be offered on the altar, chayavin halav mishum pikul. That's where one is liable to pikul. Okay. Fine. Now, in contrast to the Ketoret and all the things that we mentioned yesterday. Now, let's begin with today's Gemara. Tanu Rabbanan. We've been to the Braita that expounds from the verse in Vayikra Vayinazor Mikotchev Yisrael that this comes to include the law of Pikul by all the Kotchim. And the Braita continues and explains, perhaps you'll say, since the Parsha of Pikul was mentioned regarding a korban shlamim, a peace offering, or eno mevi ela kayotze b'shlamim, maybe it doesn't bring it to Pikul, only b'shlamim, only offerings have a law halacha that is similar to the shlamim. Only there you will say that Pikul take effect. Ma shlamim, just like shlamim yuchadim, they're special, since their halacha is shnei echalin shnei amim layla echad. They're eaten, the time frame that they're allowed to be eaten is 2 days and 1 night. And the words what does that mean? Shnei amim layla echad, it means the day of the sprinkling of the blood, and all the night and all the day after that until sunset, till shkiyad. Yeah, right. That you can see from Rambam. Now, everything, all the offerings that are nechol are eaten for 2 days and 1 night, only there will be the din of Pikul. What about nechol yom v'layla minayin? What about an offering that is eaten for a day and a night? Meaning, for example, meaning which korbanos? The toda, the thanksgiving offering, the sin offering, the chatat, the asham, the guilt offering, and the zivchei shal mitzibur, the offerings of the peace offerings of the community, Eila Nazir, and the Nazir's ram. So, how do we know there's going to also be the din of Pikul? Talmud Loimar comes a Torah to say, in Pikul, I'll quote to you the pasuk because there's a word that's quoted from the pasuk. From Vayikra, Leviticus 7, verse 18. Which shall be eaten from the meat of the zevach shlamov by Yom HaShlishi, on the 3rd day. Lo yechatzeh, it won't achieve atonement, won't be hamakriv oto, he who offers it, lechashev lo, it will not be considered for him Pikul, it's going to be Pikul, and the person who eats from it, avonotiso, will have an avon, a sin. Mibisal, when it says mibisal in the pasuk, we include kol sheshyorin ne'echolin, any offering whose shiorin are eaten has a din of Pikul. please, to make sure I'm telling this correctly in English. I should have looked at it before. I'll tell you now. Footnote 8, 44a1. In Art Scroll, footnote 8, the meat remainders is a reference to the meat remaining after the blood is applied to the altar and the sacrificial parts are burnt. Okay, that's following the Shita Mekubetzis. Footnote 8 explains what. Okay. So, Kol Shorin Echolin has din of pigul. Okay, has the law of pigul. Gemara continues, Ola, that the Ola who, is the burnt offering, which is completely burnt on the altar, meaning there's no meat left over, nothing. Minayin, how do you know by the Ola that the din of pigul, the halacha of pigul applies? Talmud Loimar states the pasuk, the meat mipsazach shlamav zevach is going to teach for the korban Ola, the burnt offering. Still, you can ask, Minayin l'rabot ha'ofot, from whence do you have, from where can you learn that it's also to include the chatat ha'of, the sin offering of the fowl, and the burnt offering of the off of the fowl, that they're, which are not called the zevach. Okay, the fowl burnt offering, okay, the sin offering of the fowl, and also they're not called a zevach. And the pasuk you're saying from the word zevach, that's how you learn it. How do you know it's coming to include the ofot and nachot, that they have the din of pigul, the law of pigul, that if they're consumed beyond its time, that if they have intent to consume it beyond its time, one transgresses and chayav karet, able to karet, to be cut off. Ad she'ani marbe log shemen shel metzora, until I learn all the kodshim and include even the log shemen shel metzora. Okay, the log is a measure of oil of the metzora, that it becomes pigul by means of a thought of pigul, the time of the service of the blood service of the asham metzora, guilt offering of the metzora, the one who had the spiritual leprosy. Talmud Lomar, comes the Torah to say regarding the consumption of kodshim whilst in a state of impurity. The pasuk that is quoted, 4 words are quoted of it. Quote the whole pasuk to you, Bezrat Hashem. They shall become Nazirim from Kodshim Bnei Yisrael and separate, Leichalelu, and they shall not profane and desecrate et Shem Kodshi, my holy name, Asher Makdishim Li, that they are, these are the words quoted in Gemara, Asher He Makdishim Li, that they are sanctifying for me, Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. So, in this pasuk, all the kodshim are included, and from this we learn Gezerah Shava. Okay, also for pigul, as is explained in the Gemara. Okay, the Gemara explains that you can learn the law of tumah, and also the law of from the din of tumah, of impurity, you can learn that also notar and pigul. So since impurity is applicable to these offerings, therefore, says the Gemara, also notar and pigul is also going to be applicable to all the offerings. You can learn the prohibition of notar, that is by all the offerings. Gzeira shava, chilul chilul. Chilul chilul means it's a gzeira shava, mituma. Well, let's see what this gzeira shava is. I think it's exegesis. By notar it's stated, ve'ochlav avonu yisa. Okay, et kodesh Hashem chilel. Those who eat it, he who eats it will bear a sin because he's profaned, he's desecrated the holiness of Hashem. And by Truma, by impurity, it's stated, Ve'inozru mikodesh bnei Yisrael, and they shall separate mikodesh bnei Yisrael, and they shall not desecrate my holy name. And just like by the law of Tuma, all the kodshim are included in purity, so too, notar, all the kodshim are included. After that, we've learned that the notar is applicable to all the kodshim. Ate, pigul, the pigul is also applicable, that the prohibition, transgression of pigul will apply. Ovon minotar. By notar it says, V'ochlav avono yisa. Those who eat it will bear a sin. By pigul it's stated, Nefesh ochelet menu avonot yisa. This is not in your Gemarot. The quote, I'm quoting the Pesukim for you, the verses. You learn from this pasuk that it's stated regarding the consumption of kodshim in a state of impurity, that it's applicable to all the kodshim, and you learn that to notar, and from that you learn to pigul, that it's applicable by all the offerings. Let's see if there's a footnote. I can tell you just. So it's kedai to see. I did mention this before. 44a, footnote 15 talks about the shlomim offerings, the parts it has. Then, okay. There's other footnotes kedai also to see in article just to understand what I'm talking about. Okay. The Brisa goes back and says, since truly the Torah was including all the kodshim regarding the din of pigul, the law of pigul, why was shlomim mentioned now? In other words, why does the Torah mention in the elucidation, the explanation of what shlomim is, even something that is like a shlomim is included from the pasuk? So shlomim was mentioned explicitly, ma shlomim miyuchadim, just like shlomim are peace offerings, are special, sheyesh lahen matirin bein la'adam bein mizbeach, that there is something in it that permits it either to be consumed by a person, or something that permits, is a permitter, a matir, for the sacrificial parts on the altar, and there will be a liability because of pigul. Af kol yishle matirin, anything that has matirin, permitter, bein la'adam bein mizbeach, the meat to be eaten by a person, or something that permits the murim to be eaten, quote unquote, by the altar. Chayovin olehen mishum pigul, there will be a liability due to pigul. Gemara now gives details as to inyanim that have matirim, 12 that have matirim, for the person, for a man, or the Mizbeach, as we learned in the Mishnah. Ha'olah, regarding the ascent offering. Doma matir et besara Mizbeach, the blood application by the Olah permits the meat for the altar. Ve'ora la kohanim, and the skin, for the kohanim. I shouldn't say skin. It's not the right word in English for the with an ayin. The hide. I think it's a hide in English. I didn't look at the article in English, but okay. Ha'olah dama matir b'sar mizbeach. The olah, the meat permits the blood. The blood application permits for the ascent offering. The blood application permits the meat for the mizbeach, for the altar. Ve'ora l'kehanim, and the hide for the kehanim. Olata of the ascent offering of the of. Dama matir b'sar mizbeach. The blood application permits the meat for the altar. Chatata of the sin offering of the fowl. Dama matir et b'sar l'kehanim. The blood application permits the meat for the kehanim. Porim and Yisrofim, the bulls that are burnt, Seirim and Yisrofim, and the Seirim, the goats that are burnt, which we're talking about the inner chatuas. Dama matir et murein nikarev. The blood is matir their murein, their sacrificial parts to be offered. This is what we learned in Teres Kohanim, and there Rabbi continues. Just parenthetically, when I said Olat Ha'of, I call it the fowl, a scent offering of the fowl. Also calls it the bird Olah, the bird ascent offering. Okay. So if I say fowl, it means bird. I should say bird. I want to see that I said it incorrectly. Okay, fine. Now the Gemara returns. In article 44a2, the second column, the Gemara returns to its citation of the Brisa, which now lists substances that do not have a permitter, and are therefore excluded from the Kori's penalty associated with pigul. Umotzi ani, and I bring out, in other words, exclude from the law of pigul. This is reminiscent of what we learned in the Mishnah in yesterday's daf, the beginning of yesterday's daf. So I take out from the din of pigul et kometz, umotzi ani. In other words, what am I taking out of the din of pigul, the halacha of pigul, transgression? Again, pigul is to consume it beyond its time. It's not notar. It's okay. So umotzi ani et kometz. I exclude the kometz, v'eta levona, and the levona, frankincense, I believe, the ketores, the incense, minchat kohanim, and the mincha offering, flour offering the kohanim, minchat kohen Mashiach, and the mincha, flour offering of the kohen Mashiach, minchas nesochim, and the mincha offering of the nesochim, v'adam, and the blood. Okay, minchas nesochim is like nesech, as we know. Like yain nesech means libation. These are libation mincha offerings. Okay, and the dam and the blood. Fine. Rabbi Shimon Omer, mashlomim miyuchadin sheyesh bo, just like, says Rabbi Shimon, just like the shlomim is special, that it has in it, just like the korban shlomim, the peace offering, is special, that it has the application of blood, sheyesh bo al mizbeach hachitzon, has the application of blood upon the outer altar. The sprinkling of the blood of the shlomim is upon the outer altar, mizbeach hachitzon, the Chayovin Olav, and there is liability of pigul, intent to consume it beyond its permitted time. Afkol, all the offerings, sheyeshnan, that there is the blood application al mizbeach hachitzon, upon the outer altar. Chayovin olav mishum pigul, there's liability to pigul. Yotzu, this excludes porim and israfim, the bulls that are burnt, seirim and israfim, and those the inners in offerings. Hoyil, since she'ein al mizbeach hachitzon kishlam, since the blood is not sprinkled upon the outer altar, kishlam, like the peace offering, and therefore ein chayovin olav mishum pigul, there's no liability upon it because of pigul. Omar Mar, the master said, if he doesn't come to include dinu pigul, Omar kayotze bishlamim, when we say in addition bishlamim by the shlamim, my nihu, which offering is similar to shlamim? Bechol, this is the bechol, the ne'echal lishnei yomim v'layla echad, which is eaten for 2 days and 1 night, like the shlamim. We explained what that means. Again, it's brought down in Brisa. If it's not coming to teach the din of pigul, other kids of Ishlam, and it's similar to Ishlam. My niyu, which offering is similar to Ishlam, this is the Bechol. I think I'm going to do this in the next recording. Thank you.